These are 3 rules for decluttering makeup. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. Today we're doing another collection insights video where I'm going to tell you about my 3 rules for decluttering makeup. But before we get into that, I wanted to address the makeup look. I felt a little creative today. I was like, you know what? I want to try some different techniques, some different products that I have lying about. And this is what came out. Is this something I wear every day? No. Is this pretty makeup? Also no. I've now figured out that probably applying an eyeshadow to the lips and then covering it with a gloss is not necessarily something that I'm going to be wearing on the daily, but I just wanted to have fun. So yes, this is a very intense look, but I'm here for it. I just felt to do something a little bit different. But yeah, today, let's get into the video idea, which is to give you another insight into my collection and how I make things work for me. These are my collection insights. And since I'm gearing up for decluttering my makeup, I'm gonna be filming those videos in about a week. You'll be watching my makeup collection videos in the week where I'm decluttering, because I already did film some videos where I went through my entire makeup collection pretty much over the Christmas break period, and then I post them in February so that I also have time to not have to think about what I'm filming that week, because decluttering is always so intense. And then the declutter videos that I film go up in March, so that's when I will showcase what it is that I'm getting rid of. But as I was sort of preparing for things, I was like, you know what, there are sort of 3 rules that I stick to when it comes to decluttering my makeup. And some of those are very obvious rules, but some of it also has to do with this and what I'm doing and why I then also need to declutter my makeup. So I just thought we could do a short little video where I tell you about those 3 rules, how that works for me, and why that works for me. And maybe you can take something away from this for yourself when you are going through your makeup collection, what can go, what can stay, and just to give you a bit of an idea of the thinking process that's behind it for me, because I filmed declutters and collection videos for years now, but I don't think I've ever truly dug deep and tried to wrap my head around the decisions that I'm making. Very often when I declutter, it's why I actually do it in 2 parts. I first film the collection and then do the declutters, because I first want to sort of know what it is I have so I can more easily take decisions on what needs to go and what, so I can keep the declutters shorter and snappier. That's sort of the aim there. So I don't really explain very much about the products when I'm decluttering. I'll talk about whether I've liked something or not. But very often I don't think I explain enough why something goes and then where it's gonna go, because that also ties into it with these 3 rules, what I end up doing with the product once it's decluttered. Not everything just gets thrown away, in case you were afraid that that was the case. So the first rule is the most obvious, and that is when my makeup has expired. Now, whenever people see larger collections, there's always going to be people who are going to say things like, you have so much you could never use it up in a lifetime, or it will expire before you can use it up. And that's of course very, very true. But what a lot of people don't realize is that makeup doesn't expire as quickly as you might think. If a product is a favorite and it's still good to go, I don't care how old that product is. If it hasn't expired and I love it, I'm going to keep it around until I've either used it up or I grow tired of it or it expires. That's sort of my thinking process. Makeup, of course, yes, it does expire, but a lot of people tend to go with, let me see, do I have a product here that has it on the back? It should. I just grab a random palette that I've taken here to film another video with that you will have seen before this one goes up. But there's always this little jar on your skincare, on your makeup products, and a lot of people go by this. So this is the Blend Bunny Longing palette, and it says 12 months. First of all, you need to realize that that expiration date isn't a true expiration date. That's something you need to realize. The expiration date of makeup is when the product expires. And it's a bit like, to me, I always compare it to fruit and veg that you buy fresh at your grocery store. they also don't have expiration dates. The reason why they don't have expiration dates is because you can look at it and very easily tell whether it has expired. Makeup, and also skincare and body care and hair care, works in a very similar vein, where if you use the product and it starts to change texture, formula, performance, or if it starts to grow visible things, that's when it has expired. But makeup doesn't expire when the manufacturer tells you to. There are different types of expiration dates out there. This one means that the manufacturer guarantees the performance of the product for 12 months after opening the product. And of course, like, that's why it's a little jar. With skincare, for instance, it's super easy to tell. Like, I twist the top of and I take whatever protective layer is on top of the product. That's when the sort of months on your products start to sort of really count. But know that the jar on the back of a lot of beauty products is what the manufacturer estimates the product will be in its prime sort of usage for. It's not an expiration date. It's not that this palette, after a year, this is already older than a year, suddenly decides it's no longer good to go. Makeup doesn't work that way. Actually, a lot of expiration dates actually don't work that way. And something you should realize is that these manufacturers are really, really conservative with the dates that they put on these products. Because if your makeup does expire within the time frame that they put on the product, that's when they get in trouble. So very often the expiration date on the back of your beauty products is far more conservative than how long the product will actually be good for usage. It's just that if you do develop pink eye, or if you do get any sort of problems from the product after that date, it's sort of like a liability thing, right? That's when you are responsible for the issue. So some people want to be more safe than sorry, but I've had makeup in my makeup collection for absolute years. I still have shades from my original Modern Renaissance that I bought in like 2016 or 2017. So by now, those products are a decade old. And then you could say like, ugh, that's like gross, or that no longer works. I've been the only person who's often used that product. I always go into it with clean fingers. My brushes I clean often enough that there cannot be that much like actual germs. I also keep my makeup in a dry, dark place. That's another reason, especially for powder products and also creams, by the way, why it doesn't expire so quickly. So you can keep makeup for a lifetime. And without it expiring, with it still being good to go. The minute you need to start questioning whether you can still use a product is if it's like a liquid or a cream. Those will expire more quickly. Like your lipsticks, your cream blushes, your foundations are more likely to expire than a powder product, like an eyeshadow or a like blush or bronzer. Those tend to expire a lot less quickly than creams and liquids do. It's why a lot of foundations have like the little like twist of caps, or with your concealers, there's like a little like thing in there to prevent the air to get to the product. The more you open your product, the more likely it is to expire. So very often your favorites tend to expire more quickly than things you use less often. But how you keep your makeup, how often you use it, and whether you tamper with the product packaging or not is all going to determine how long you can keep products for. So for me, I just know that makeup doesn't expire as quickly as a lot of people think it does. But when makeup is expired, that's when I get rid of it. And what I look for is smell. Things all of a sudden, like especially with creams and liquids, I find that they get this really weird sort of Play-Doh kind of scent, or this really strong, almost like ammonia-like scent. Like when my liquids and my creams start to smell like that, I just know it's time for them to go. With powders, you can look for like texture changes, or if, for instance, you know that the product used to deposit things in a certain way and all of a sudden they don't blend as easily anymore, or you don't pick up the same amount of product, that's when you know it has expired. Way before you can see anything visually, the texture will change. The formula will change, especially with things like eyeshadow or blush and bronzer. The thing that expires more quickly than the pigments is the binding agents. Those tend to expire more quickly. So the things that are in the product to hold it together, to make it not just loose powder, that's the thing that will expire more quickly than the product itself. So therefore, I just know that a lot of products are actually still really good to go, you know? You don't have, like, you don't need to throw things away just because of the jar on the back. If I have these products that I've had for a very long time and they go bad, or like if I, for instance, have to do someone else's makeup, or if I just decide I no longer want to use it and I then pass it on to people, I will never ever give it to someone else. I will always like throw that away. Like if a product is a decade old, I'm not going to give it to my friends and family. There's just no way. And that it just, like, especially if it's like something I've already hit pan on, it's like then it's run its course, and especially expired makeup, of course, you can't give to anyone else. So that needs to be chucked into the bin, and that definitely then just needs to happen. When it comes to my declutters, though, the things I declutter most fall into the final two categories, which I actually think are the more interesting categories to chat about. The first one is products that I bought for reviews or things that were sent into PR that just don't really go with what I like. So one of the reasons why I have so many products is because I've been doing this for a very long time. My collection grew sort of organically over time. I've been trying a lot of things. I've hung on to favorites. If it's been a favorite for years, it's just still in my collection. But I do buy and also receive products as part of making content. And part of me has also like sort of steered away from that. I no longer try to have all the palettes by a certain brands. I love Bella Beauté Bar. I love Nomad. I love Viseart. But I'm no longer in this collector's mindset where I feel I need to own all of their palettes. I used to think that with Urban Decay, Too Faced, Anastasia Beverly Hills, when those brands were like the trending brands, I tried to own everything they did. And I would almost blindly buy those things without asking myself, like, is this adding anything new to my collection? Is this something that I could realistically make work for me? And that really meant that for a while, I did buy things that weren't quite right for me. And part of this game is that I do try things that may not be right for me. So when it comes to product reviews, for instance, with Essence and Catrice videos that I do, there are products in there that I buy to do the full face makeup look, but that I kind of already know once I've used it once for my video, I probably will not be interested in using again because it may be a formula that I don't enjoy. It may be shades that don't work for me very well. So part of this thing means that I will come into excess products. And then there's also, of course, PR, especially in the past year or two. I've slowly but surely been able to become affiliated with some brands. And that does also mean that I sometimes get products in. If you saw my haul that I posted on Thursday, you will know what's come in. And like 95% of that was PR. And I didn't get to pick out all of those products myself. And even if I do like buy it myself and I buy it for a review, I already end up with products I'm not interested in. But with PR, it's often even worse. It could be color stories that I wasn't interested in. I will still test it out. I will still make a video with it for sure. Or it may be products that may not be right for me because it's either like aimed at oily skin and it doesn't really work with my skin, or it's again shades that don't quite work for me, or it's a type of product that doesn't really go with my makeup aesthetic. So that definitely goes into what happens when brands send you PR. You can't like everything. You are only one person, but that doesn't mean I don't appreciate what I do receive in PR. I will at least give it a shot very often, especially if it's eyeshadow. I love just like today, like this is something I did purchase with my own money. I used the Cheeryep Starcore palette that they did in collaboration with Freya. And I just tried to do a couple of the things that I see her do in her like makeup looks, and I just decided to test it out to see what it would look like on me. So I just wanted to play around and sort of take inspiration from other creators as well. Will I ever do this look again like this? Probably not. If I would go into the Starcore palette again, I would probably mix and match these shades in a different way. But do I love this eye look for like an evening out? Yes. Would I pair it with like a bit of the blue eyeshadow from the palette and a gray lip gloss from the Ghoul Shellwe makeup collab? I believe this is the Lacrimosa shade. I think I actually made a mistake last month when I used one of the other shades. That was more of a liquid lipstick. This is definitely glossier. And I just saw Freya doing this where she puts eyeshadow onto her lips first and then she covers it with a gloss. And I just wanted to give it a shot to see what it might look like on me. I don't think it's my look. I think my top lip is actually too small for it to really, really work. But it sort of gives you this like, also of course I did go in with blue eyeshadow and not like the brown that's also in this look, but yeah, I just wanted to be a little bit creative today and just change it up. But that does mean, like, if you do get sent things in PR, not everything might work for you. Not everything may be your cup of tea, and that is then something that's in, like, I just know, especially with some of the Essence and Catrice videos that I do, I just know right upon first impression, okay, this is probably just gonna go into a declutter. So I always have a little shoebox up in my closet where I put those products and then I keep them around for declutters, because that also makes for a more interesting declutter. I could of course do that off camera and just get rid of the products quietly, but I'm gonna have to be very honest with you in order to keep my declutters also worth the time and that there's also something I can declutter. I tend to hang on to a lot of makeup for about a year and then just clear it all out in one go. That's just the way it goes. And those products, depending on what they are, especially like in the past, I've decided to stop doing this year because I just like, I just end up with so much excess product. I can also try the Essence and Catrice lip lines by just buying like 2 or 3 colors from each formula that they do new. Make those like products that like colors that I might want to wear, and then like decide whether I want to keep something or not long term. But especially when I tried the entire like lip lines that Essence and Catrice have been doing in the past few years, all of those products were instant declutters very often. I just keep like 1 or 2 shades. And then if I end up not reaching for it all the time, which very often doesn't happen, I also declutter the 2 or 3 shades that do interest me. And those I then pass on to family, friends, and colleagues. So for the most part, I just pass it on to people I know. I have neighbors who love makeup. I have colleagues who want to try makeup. Like they see me wear things and then they go like, ooh. So last year I just took a giant box to work and it was so fun because I also have male colleagues and then they like picked out things for their girlfriends or their wives or their kids if they had like daughters and stuff. So it was really, really fun because everybody was like, oh, this is so much fun. And it was this whole like everybody was going ham, and then they felt bad for like taking too many products. I was like, no, it all needs to go. If you want more, grab more. And then everybody started showing up to work going like, see, I'm wearing the eyeshadow that like I got from your box, or like they were wearing a lip product, and some of them still come up to me like, I still wear that lipstick that I took out of the box. So it's been really, really fun. And so I just try to pass it on to so many different people. And I just know that when I declutter this year, because I haven't brought into many new things in the past couple of years, I know there's a lot less to declutter, and that was also my aim. I'm trying very hard to stay away from the buy, declutter, gone, repurchase sort of cycle. Part of it comes with a makeup channel, but I try to stay away from it. Because I'm just like, it doesn't sit well with me to just get rid of things because it's like something you cannot physically use. It's why I try, like whenever I do accept PR, to sort of like time it. With PR, you just never know when you're going to get it. So unless it's a brand I'm excited for, I'm not going to say, yes, send me something. So yeah, if there's anything that I still want to test out, some things I'm like, oh, it doesn't really matter. I can put it on the back burner and I can try it whenever. But yeah, I do try to like try things in PR and then, you know, film with it or review it in some way, shape or form, put it in videos. And if I truly like it, it ends up in other videos as well. I try to also vet what I receive in PR, if at all possible. And the third rule I have for myself when it comes to declutters, because there was a third one, the third rule I have for myself that is a little bit more interesting than just it has expired is I sometimes just end up with too many favorites, especially if it's a color story or a color that I like. Like, I love mauve. I love mauve lipstick. I love mauve blush. But a couple of years ago, I remember, I think it was last year or maybe the year before, I decided to organize my declutter for my blushes by color. And also like my makeup collection, because like I just need to swatch all of these mauve tone blushes on the back of my hand to see all the colors together and to just know, like, do I just have too many things? Because especially a mauve can be so many different things, and then you're like, oh, and especially because it's a shade of blush I just really gravitate towards. Like, by the time you get to like 30 mauve blush, there is no way you can still use them all, or if they're not, like, if they're too similar. And I just ended up with so many things that were too similar that didn't really add much. And then I also know that I need to like start making decisions and like, this is my favorite, this is what I'm gonna keep. And even if I've loved a product in the past, that sometimes means I have to get rid of it again so I can pass it on. Like, if it's still within like a decent time frame, I can still pass it on to people. And that's something that I then find really important. So yeah, because I love certain things, because I buy things and get things for the channel, yeah, I do sometimes end up with what you could call superfluous or excess product in a given category. I tend to, again, have a variety of shades because shades matter as well, of course. Will this work on my skin tone? Yes or no? So I sort of, yeah, buy with the intention or receive with the intention of trying all these different things. But then I do end up with like products after a while. I'm like, things just need to go. Like, for instance, I love the whole fui pudding pot sort of thing, but now everyone starts to do it. Every brand under the sun is starting to do these moussey, blurring blushes. I'm wearing the Catrice one that they came out with for my look today. And, you know I want to try some more. So do I then keep all of the fui blushes I have, or do I cull some of those? So there's space in my collection for trying. I hope to be able to find the Maybelline one when I go to Germany in a couple of weeks. I hope it's out, fingers crossed. If not, I have a trip to London planned for later in the year, so maybe I can find it in London by that time. We'll see how it goes. I don't know. But yeah, I do end up with too many things. But that's, I think, the slowest category to build. That's really something that takes me years to build up, because I think, like I said, 2020, before that, I didn't really own that many cream or liquid blush, and I really have been starting to buy it more in the past 5 or 6 years, which is still a long time, so it's accumulated over time. But now I'm like at the point where I'm like, do I still need this? Do I still need that? And also within cream and powder blush and other categories, like when Essence and Catrice have new collections out, I did buy all the Blushing Charm blush sticks that Catrice came out with when they had all of the shades out in one go. I bought all of those and I kept one. But now I don't really use it all that often. So then I'm like, maybe that one can go, you know? I know that this is something that you don't really see in a lot of people's videos, but I try to keep my makeup collection in the organization that I have for it. Once it starts to overflow, I know it's time to declutter. And this is the first year ever where I didn't have to dig through layers of makeup in my drawers, which tells me that I've been bringing in less product, so that also means there's less to declutter. I'm just going to condense it down a little bit more. I haven't had to reorganize my makeup collection in the past year. I did a declutter, put my makeup back into my drawers, and it's been still like working for me. And that's been something that I've been really, really trying to be conscious of. What you see a lot is that people now do PAX units for their makeup. And I was like, I haven't upgraded my makeup storage and how everything fits for as long as I've lived in this space. But I've had the exact same amount of makeup storage for the past is it 8 years? Yeah, 8 years. I've already lived in this place for 8 years. It will be nine years this year. It's a Malm like drawer situation from IKEA that I already owned when I was living in my previous place. And when I lived in my previous place, I was using it to store some other things than makeup. I had a different like drawer set next to it. So I think that space-wise, I only increased the amount of storage that I allow for makeup in my house by just a little bit. So those 4 drawers have had my makeup in for as long as I've lived here. It's worked for me for 8 years. And I do not intend to buy more storage for my makeup. So that's why I know when those drawers start to overflow, it's just time to get rid of things. So that's definitely there. And also in the eyeshadow palette department, I'm very proud to say that I only have a couple of them having to lie on top in the bigger palette drawer, because I try to keep brands together as much as I can. So that's why it's now sort of starting to overflow a little bit. Those are my 3 rules for decluttering makeup. If it's expired, if I end up with too many things because I've had to buy things for the channel or I receive things in PR, those are things I get rid of. But also if I just end up with too many things in a given category, then over time it just sort of fills up, and sometimes it has to do with favorites, and I just want to keep, like, sometimes I find new favorites and those replace the old ones, especially if it's like newer things. But if something is still truly unique, like I think of my Urban Decay blush in Rapture that I used again in January, I have nothing else in my makeup collection. Even though that blush is like a decade old, it still works, it still looks beautiful. And I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I rediscovered that. So sometimes it's good to hang on to your favorites. Don't just get rid of it because you're like, ooh, this might be too old. It still works. Who knows? Who knows? So thanks so much for watching this video today. Thumbs it up if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more by me. I try to give you a little insights into my makeup collection like this once a month. I like to do these chatty videos with you guys. You guys really seem to like it as well, so I want to keep doing them. So if you have any sort of ideas or maybe things about my collection that you're very curious after, that you want to know about, then let me know, because I can talk about a lot of different things. So thanks so much for watching this video today. This is the channel with 4 makeup videos a week. I have a second channel with 1 video a week about lifestyle-y things, vloggy things, books, a little bit fashion from time to time. So you can follow me there or on Instagram or TikTok as well. And I hope to see you again really, really soon in a new video. Bye-bye.